If you wake up tired, even after a full night of sleep, your problem might not be your mattress or your schedule. It can be your biology running low on key nutrients. When vitamins and minerals are missing, your body can still sleep, but it may not recharge well. Energy production happens inside your cells all day and all night, and it depends on micronutrients acting like spark plugs and wiring. The tricky part is that deficiencies can feel like stress, aging, or just being busy. You might notice brain fog, low motivation, or that afternoon crash that hits like a wall. You might also feel short of breath with workouts that used to be easy. The good news is you can approach this logically. We'll walk through the most common vitamin and mineral gaps linked with fatigue. You'll learn what they do, how low levels can show up, and what to check before guessing. Let's start with the big picture of tired. Moving to slide 2. Before we talk nutrients, it helps to separate 3 different problems that all feel like tired. First is sleepiness, like you could fall asleep in a meeting. Second is low energy. Your body feels heavy and tasks feel harder. Third is low drive or focus. Your brain feels slow and motivation is missing. Different deficiencies lean toward different patterns. Low iron often feels like physical weakness and breathlessness. Low B12 can feel like brain fog plus tingling or numbness. Low magnesium often shows up as poor sleep quality, muscle tension, and feeling wired but exhausted. Also, fatigue is rarely one single cause. It's often a stack. Not enough protein, too little sunlight, heavy periods, gut issues, and stress all at once. So the goal is not to self-diagnose from one symptom. The goal is to notice patterns and choose smart next steps. Think of this as building a short list of most likely gaps to investigate. Moving to slide 3. Let's start with iron, because it's one of the most common nutrient issues behind fatigue. Iron helps your body make hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen in red blood cells. If oxygen delivery is low, everything feels harder. Walking upstairs, workouts, even concentrating. But here's the nuance. You can have low iron stores before you become anemic. That's why ferritin, a marker of stored iron, matters. Common clues include feeling cold, restless legs, headaches, hair shedding, and getting winded easily. Heavy menstrual bleeding is a major risk factor. So are frequent blood donations, pregnancy, and endurance training. Iron absorption can also drop if you have low stomach acid or gut inflammation. Food sources include red meat, sardines, lentils, beans, and spinach. Vitamin C with plant iron can help absorption. Iron supplements can be helpful, but they're not one size fits all, and too much iron has risks. Testing first is the smart move. Moving to slide 4. Next is vitamin B12, a nutrient that's essential for nerve function and red blood cell production. When B12 is low, you can feel tired, foggy, and oddly weak, even if you're sleeping enough. Some people also notice tingling in hands or feet, balance issues, or mood changes. B12 deficiency is more common than many people think, especially if you eat little or no animal foods, because B12 is naturally found in animal products. But diet isn't the only reason. Absorption is complex. You need stomach acid and a protein called intrinsic factor to absorb B12 in the small intestine. That means chronic gastritis, certain gut conditions, or a history of bariatric surgery can increase risk. Even long-term use of acid-suppressing medications can be a factor for some people. Blood work often includes serum B12, but markers like methylmalonic acid can add clarity in borderline cases. If you suspect B12, don't guess. Moving to slide 5. Folate, also called vitamin B9, works closely with B12 in making red blood cells and supporting DNA repair. Low folate can contribute to fatigue and weakness, and it can also affect mood and focus. Folate is found in leafy greens, beans, citrus, and many fortified grains. So why would someone be low? One reason is simply low intake, especially if vegetables and legumes are rare in your routine. Another reason is increased demand, like during pregnancy. Alcohol can also interfere with folate status, and certain digestive issues can reduce absorption. Here's an important point. Taking folic acid can sometimes improve anemia while masking a B12 deficiency, which can allow nerve symptoms to progress unnoticed. That's why it's smart to evaluate folate and B12 together if fatigue is paired with cognitive changes or nerve symptoms. Food first is often effective for folate, but labs can guide the decision when symptoms persist. Moving to slide 6. Vitamin D is famous for bones, but it also influences muscle function, immune signaling, and overall vitality. Low vitamin D is linked in studies with fatigue in many people, although it's not the only factor. A common pattern is low energy plus muscle aches, low mood, or getting sick often. Risk goes up if you get little midday sun, have darker skin, live far from the equator, cover most of your skin outdoors, or spend most of your time inside. Body fat can also lower circulating levels because vitamin D is fat-soluble. The key is that symptoms are vague, so testing is usually the best way to know. The typical blood test is 25-hydroxy-vitamin D. If it's low, improving sun exposure safely and adjusting diet can help. Supplementing is sometimes appropriate, but dosing should be individualized. Vitamin D also interacts with calcium and magnesium, so it's part of a bigger mineral picture. Moving to slide 7. Magnesium is one of the most overlooked minerals for people who feel tired but also tense. Magnesium helps regulate muscle relaxation, nerve signaling, blood sugar control, and parts of the sleep cycle. If you're low, you might fall asleep but wake up unrefreshed. You might also notice muscle cramps, eyelid twitching, headaches, constipation, or feeling wired at night. Modern diets can be low in magnesium because it's abundant in foods many people undereat, like nuts, seeds, beans, and leafy greens. High stress can also increase magnesium losses, and heavy sweating can contribute. Testing magnesium is tricky because most magnesium is inside cells, not in blood. So a normal serum magnesium doesn't always rule out a problem. That doesn't mean you should megadose. It means you should treat magnesium like a foundational nutrient. Raise intake through food first, then consider a gentle supplement if appropriate and tolerated, and watch how sleep quality changes, not just hours slept. Moving to slide 8. Let's talk about potassium and sodium, because fatigue is not always about vitamins. Electrolytes control fluid balance, blood pressure, and nerve impulses. If your electrolytes are off, you can feel weak, lightheaded, and mentally sluggish. Low potassium can show up as muscle weakness, cramps, and heart palpitations in some cases. It's more likely if your diet is low in fruits, vegetables, and legumes, or if you lose a lot of fluid through sweating, vomiting, or diarrhea. Sodium is more complicated. Some people restrict salt aggressively, then wonder why they feel dizzy when standing up. Others eat plenty of sodium but not enough potassium, which can still create imbalance. If you exercise, sauna, or work in heat, electrolyte needs go up. The practical approach is to build a potassium-rich plate: potatoes, beans, yogurt, bananas, leafy greens, and match fluids to activity. If you have kidney disease or take certain medications, electrolyte changes need medical guidance. Moving to slide 9. Zinc is usually discussed for immunity, but it also matters for energy because it supports thyroid hormone conversion, wound healing, and neurotransmitter function. Low zinc can feel like low appetite, frequent infections, slow recovery from workouts, and sometimes changes in taste or smell. It can also contribute to hair shedding and skin issues. People at higher risk include those who eat very little meat or seafood, because oysters and red meat are rich sources. Digestive conditions that reduce absorption can also play a role. Another common trap is taking high-dose zinc for long periods, which can lower copper and create a new problem that also causes fatigue. So zinc is a right dose, right duration nutrient. Food sources include oysters, beef, pumpkin seeds, and dairy. If you're frequently sick and tired at the same time, zinc status is worth considering, but it should be part of a balanced plan, not a single magic pill. Moving to slide 10. Speaking of copper, it's a trace mineral that doesn't get much attention, but it's essential for iron metabolism and red blood cell function. If copper is low, you can develop anemia like fatigue, even if iron intake looks fine. Copper also supports connective tissue and the nervous system. Deficiency is uncommon from diet alone, but it can happen with long-term high-dose zinc supplementation, certain malabsorption issues, or very restrictive diets. Symptoms can overlap with other deficiencies: fatigue, weakness, pale skin, and sometimes neurologic symptoms. The reason copper matters in a fatigue conversation is that people sometimes self-treat with iron and zinc without testing. That can shift the balance and worsen the real issue. Food sources of copper include shellfish, liver, nuts, seeds, and cocoa. The takeaway is simple. Micronutrients are a network. If you pull one lever too hard, another can move in the wrong direction. If you're supplementing multiple minerals, it's worth reviewing doses and checking labs with a clinician. Moving to slide 11. Iodine and selenium are two small nutrients with a big impact because they support thyroid function. The thyroid helps regulate metabolic rate, which influences energy, temperature tolerance, and mental sharpness. If thyroid hormone production or conversion is impaired, fatigue can be a major symptom. Iodine is needed to make thyroid hormone, and selenium supports enzymes that activate thyroid hormone and protect the gland from oxidative stress. Low iodine can happen if you avoid iodized salt and rarely eat seafood or dairy. Low selenium can happen with low intake of foods like Brazil nuts, seafood, and meats, depending on soil content. Here's the caution. Too much iodine or selenium can also cause problems, so this is not a more is better category. If you suspect thyroid-related fatigue, like fatigue plus feeling cold, dry skin, constipation, or unexplained weight changes, thyroid labs and a dietary review are the right starting point. Targeted nutrition can support thyroid health. Moving to slide 12. Now let's connect deficiencies to real-life root causes, because the why matters as much as the what. One major cause is low intake. Skipping breakfast, low protein, or a diet that's heavy on refined foods. Another is increased needs, like pregnancy, intense training, or recovery from illness. A third is loss, like heavy periods, frequent blood donation, or chronic diarrhea. And a fourth is absorption problems, which can come from celiac disease, inflammatory bowel disease, bariatric surgery, or chronic gastritis. Even if your diet looks good on paper, absorption can be the bottleneck. Also, sleep itself can be disrupted by deficiencies, creating a loop. Low magnesium or iron-related restless legs can worsen sleep quality, which worsens fatigue, which worsens food choices. The practical move is to identify which bucket you're in: intake, needs, losses, or absorption. That narrows what to test and what to change. You don't need perfection. You need a clear hypothesis and a plan you can stick with. Moving to slide 13. So what should you actually do if you're tired all the time? Start with a simple structured check. First, track your fatigue pattern for a week: morning, afternoon, and evening. Note sleep duration, caffeine timing, and workouts. Second, look at your diet honestly. Are you getting iron-rich foods, protein, and at least a few servings of plants daily? Third, consider risk factors: heavy periods, vegan diet, low sun, gut symptoms, or frequent infections. Then, if fatigue is persistent or affecting daily life, consider asking a clinician about targeted labs. Common ones include a complete blood count, ferritin, B12, folate, vitamin D, thyroid markers, and sometimes iron saturation or inflammation markers, depending on context. If you do supplement, change one variable at a time and give it time, and avoid stacking high doses just in case. The goal is sustainable energy, not a supplement collection. If you want one practical baseline, build meals around protein, colorful plants, and mineral-rich staples like beans, yogurt, nuts, and seafood when possible. Moving to slide 14. Let's wrap this up with a simple idea. If you're always tired after sleep, it's worth considering that your body may be undersupplied, not underrested. Iron, B12, folate, vitamin D, magnesium, electrolytes, zinc, copper, iodine, and selenium all play roles in energy, oxygen delivery, nerves, and hormones. The symptoms overlap, which is why guessing can waste time. A better approach is pattern recognition plus targeted testing, especially when fatigue is persistent. Build your foundation with nutrient-dense meals and consistent sleep timing. Then use supplements carefully, based on real needs and reasonable doses. If you want, I can also create a simple checklist of symptoms and the most relevant labs to discuss with a clinician. For now, one quick question for you. Do you feel more tired in the morning or more tired in the afternoon? A or B? And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more clear, evidence-based health explanations. This information is not a substitute for medical advice.